get right into it. This is a tier. This is a pretty meaty tier here. I'm going to give the name to the tier, too, because I don't think it gives away who is in it.
No.
But it's the backup supremes. And so these are ones who are backups, but maybe backup plus.
Or supreme backups.
Or supreme backups, however you want to interpret that. So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Next on your list,
right.
Number 30, who is that man?
That backup supreme is Davis Mills. That's right, Davis Mills, number 30, Houston Texans quarterback, right? Fully expect him to be the backup quarterback when the season starts, honestly. Yeah, I got him ahead of C.J. Stroud right now as it stands, right, going into the season. But that's one where, like, C.J. Stroud's talent and ability is much greater than Davis Mills. Once he gets a little feel for football and everything like that, I think his potential and what he is surpasses Davis Mills, fourth, fifth week of the year for sure, right? So you take those lumps early on in the year. But here, the thing I think when we get to Davis Mills and you talk about it, hey, there's a reason he's a backup fringe starter, right? He's smart. He is a good surveyor of the field, knows where to go with the ball. It's one of the things we talked about when he came out of Stanford. He was NFL ready, right? Played in pro-style offenses there, so he understood how to run a pro-style offense in the NFL. He is big, and he plays big. I will say that too. His ability to stand in the pocket, see over the line of scrimmage, throw over the line of scrimmage because he kind of has a high release, all right? That's all pretty damn good, and I give him credit for that. He moves better than you think as far as in the pocket, kind of making people miss, sliding the right way. He's pretty good in that department. As an overall athlete, though, I would say he's less than average for the NFL in 2023, right? Yeah, he can move. He can get outside of the pocket to a degree. But compared to some of the guys we're going to talk about today or guys we've talked about before, yeah, he's one of the lesser mobile quarterbacks in football. He's old school that way, right? So I think that's where he's kind of stuck in backupville. There's a lot that he does that's good and solid. There's just nothing great. Good decision maker, no doubt. Good arm, not a great arm, right? Pretty quick release, but not a very quick release. I mean, not a quick release, just a solid release. It's a little too elongated for me, And that's where I think that's why he will be a backup, and I think that for a while, because I think, hair below average arm strength, hair below average in variety of releases, right? We talked about below average athlete, below average quickness in his release, right? I think all of that, and then below, with that, and then not a real aggressive decision maker, likes to check down too much, in my opinion. That's one of the last things I wrote. It's too much. It's always looking for that. I think that's why he's stuck as a backup, and that's why they drafted C.J. Stroud.
So despite all those negative things you said about him,
right.
I think this is the most positive you have ever been about Davis Mills on this podcast.
Well, because
there's
good
things you said about him.
Yeah, I know.
So he was 35 last year. He's moved up, and now you don't do these rankings by looking at where they were last year and moving them. You just go each quarterback and who would I rather have to play a game today.
Right.
And I think we've made this point. If you're new to the top 40 list, it's not like who's going to be better even by the end of the year.
Right.
It's like if you had a game today, how would these quarterbacks be ranked to win a game right now, drafting equal teams out there? And so you have Davis Mills, 30, who moved up despite taking a step back. You look at the stats from year to year, and he's actually taken a step back from 2021 to 2022 in completion percentage, and yards per games is about the same, but he ended up throwing 15 interceptions last year. So, I mean, this is more proof that this is not about numbers for you. This is about the quality of the quarterback, but it also might be also changing how you evaluate some of these rookie quarterbacks and where he stands as what he can do in a game for you right now.
Yeah. And he's like, he can manage an offense. He can win games if your team is really good, right? But like what you see with the Houston Texans, he's not good enough to make the team on a day where you go, hey, we're just slightly worse than this team, and if we could just have somebody make 2 or 3 plays for us, we'll win the game.
Right.
And he's just not that. Let alone, if you're going to be the guy you are, right, you got to be a little more careful with the football with what he is, too. And I think that's also, part of the reason, again, it'd be different if it was, hey, great decision maker, never turns the ball over, does all those things. Maybe he would have fended off the drafting as a C.J. Stroud. But I think it's like the lack of elite big-time talent, and there is things to like. Again, when I turn on the film, it's underwhelming when I watch him at first. I'm always like, But realistically, as you watch him too, and there's guys in front of him here, and there's even guys behind him that have more physical tools and ability than he does. But, like, I am going to put something into plays the game the right way, knows where to go with the football, right? And I will also take into account he's been around a really tough situation. I mean, it ain't been a ton of help there, right?
Let me bring
that up.
That's
part of that, too.
That's a question that CD2K says to you, guys, was Davis Mills really the problem? And does Stroud have a chance with the Texans? So we have the receiving leaders from last year, 2022, and it was Brandon Cooks who was the leading receiver. Didn't even get up to 700 yards. He was at 699, 57 receptions. Then you had Chris Moore, Jordan Atkins, Nico Collins, who is actually still on the Houston roster, but we've basically had a total turnover because they have signed Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz at tight end, Noah Brown. So Davis Mills, now that he's on the way out, he might be like, wait, where were these guys when I was starting those, 26 games over the last 2 years?
No, I mean, to our point here with our question at CD2K, he wasn't really the problem. You're right in that statement. Like, you don't look at the Houston Texans and go, oh, man, if the quarterback was a little better, they'd win. They would have won more games or, been in the playoffs. No, you're exactly right with your assessment there. Is that it's an offense that lacked playmakers. You just mentioned some of the guys there. They're not household names, right? They do have a pretty good O-line, and it's going in the right direction. They got a running game that can be special here going into next year.
Yeah.
But I think that's why, okay, Davis Mills is not the problem, but this is the answer, CD2K. He's not the answer either. That's what I can tell you. And where I would be, again, I think a more talented quarterback or something like that. Again, not that I say that like ends up being Texans in the playoffs, but I think a more talented quarterback. Yeah, some of these games that the Texans lost that were really close, I don't think you would have lost with some other guys and a bigger arm and potentially what C.J. Stroud could be this year, right? And I think that's what they're looking at too. They're going, wait, we were competitive and really close in a lot of games. We just need a quarterback to make just 2-3 plays for us at the end of a game to kind of get us to win that football game, and they haven't had that. And you look at their schedule; they had a lot of games like that towards the end of the season. I think that's ultimately led them getting the quarterback.
Well, maybe they liked that though too, because they were a team that was gunning for that number 1 pick, and because they didn't get it, Lovie Smith no longer has a job. So people are going to look at your rankings, and they're going to say, all right, Davis Mills is 30.
Yeah, but you said it. I'm doing it right
Stroud
now.
Is 37.
Right.
But does that mean right now, week 1 will be basically right now for this season?
Well, okay. Week 1
Who would
right
you start?
now. Week 1 right now. Yes, Davis Mills is going to be better. Davis Mills can run the offense more perfectly. Sure, there's probably be more plays available to him in the playbook, right? So all of that. But that doesn't mean you start him. I wouldn't. You start C.J. Stroud. You work and you take your lumps and you start to formulate things around him and his talents as you get a feel for him. And then you hope by week 5 or 6 you go, wait, okay, maybe he doesn't know all the playbook like Davis Mills, but we can manage a game plan that's better than anything we could do with Davis Mills because of his physical ability, right? That's where I'm into it. And again, that's where C.J. Stroud, it might not be quite as good a decision maker and all of that. But what C.J. Stroud will do once he starts getting going here is he's going to be able to make some plays where you go, nope, Davis Mills could never make that throw. And this guy can. Ooh, the future's bright. So, yeah, I'm not ready to say C.J. Stroud right now, or the first week of training camp or the first 2 or 3 weeks of training camp is going to be as good as Davis Mills. So that's why I got Davis Mills where he is. And I'm going to give Davis Mills some respect for what he's done the last few years.
Sure.
It's been good. Again, it's just not great. But this is definitely one of the higher-end backups in all of football. And when he's out of Houston next year, somebody will approach him that way, and he'll be paid like one of the higher-end backups in football.
I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be this year, too. Case Keenum was signed as a backup there in Houston. So
right, that's right.
I don't know if
I know what's going to go on there. Yeah.
3 of those guys. So
yeah,
who
sure.
knows? Who knows?
Right.
But, yeah, maybe one of the higher-level backups out there, which is what the tier is. It's backup supremes, and so that is 30.
Davis Mills, to your point.
One more thing.
One more thing, though. Be interesting there with the Case Keenum thing and all that to where, if there was an injury in training camp, somebody lost their backup and they were a good team.
Yeah.
Or, maybe somebody does have a starter that goes down and they go, man, we're kind of good. We like a guy that can, play right now and help us. That's where Davis Mills could end up being trade bait when this is all said and done. So we'll see where it goes. Yo, thanks for watching, homies. It's the off season, but there's no off season for us here at Unbuttoned. me, Ahmed Fareed. We're going to hit all the stories. So hit subscribe for us, okay? We got a ton coming up. My draft prospect rankings, my Simms top 40 quarterback countdown, and videos of me and NFL QBs playing catch and talking about their development and mechanics. Again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies. See you soon.